Hey everyone, it's Matt Donahue with Mission Financial Planners. This is this week's market update for the week ending May 24th. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend, and this is going to be coming to you live on Tuesday, May 28th. So, jumping into last week's market, depending on which index you follow, it was a good week, a bad week, or kind of a blah week, right? The Dow was down more than 2%, the Nasdaq was up a point, and the S&P posted just a tiny gain. The Dow snapped its string of 5 consecutive weeks in a row of positive gains, and it's just below the 40,000 point threshold it had reached just last week. Nasdaq's outperformance relative to its peers was driven by another great week for the information technology stocks. The broad market's top weekly performer at the sector level, which returned about 3.5%. The tech sector is coming off a solid earnings season in which its earnings growth rate ranked third highest among the 11 S&P 500 sectors. Oil's on a slide. The price of oil fell around 2% for the week to its lowest level in more than 3 months as a report showed an increase in U.S. crude inventories. At Friday afternoon's price of less than $78 a barrel, U.S. crude was down sharply from a year-to-date high of 87 in early April. Earnings season with 96% of first quarter earnings results in as of Friday. Companies in the S&P 500 were recording an average earnings increase of 6% versus the same quarter a year ago. And if that result ends up being the final number, it would mark the strongest growth rate since the first quarter of 22. So all this good news, oil's down, you know, markets are doing great. Companies are doing great, but consumer sentiment is just going south. The recent trend in mixed data on inflation appears to really be spooking people. The University of Michigan Sentiment Survey for May posted a final reading of 69.1 on Friday, which was up from the preliminary 67.4, but still down pretty sharply from what it was in April, which was 77.2. The U.S. Federal Reserve policymakers released their notes last week from their last meeting, and they are willing to stay tight as long as it takes, and maybe even to increase rates again if inflation starts to re-escalate. The prospectus or the prospect of that extra interest rate hikes or potential for interest rate hikes really did weigh on the market. Housing setback. U.S. sales of existing homes fell in April amid twin challenges from high mortgage rates and high home prices. The National Association of Realtors reported on Wednesday that sales dropped 1.9% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.14 million homes. Most economists were expecting a monthly sales increase. Thursday's scheduled release of an updated U.S. GDP estimate will be among the most closely watched economic reports of the holiday shortened week. An initial estimate released late in April indicated that GDP expanded at an annual rate of 1.6% in the first quarter, down from 3.4% in the fourth quarter. This week, yesterday, everybody was closed for Memorial Day. Today, we have the S&P Case-Shiller 20-City Composite Home Price Index. The Consumer Confidence Index is coming out from the Conference Board. Nothing for tomorrow. Thursday, we've got first quarter GDP, which is the second estimate from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, weekly unemployment claims, and pending home sales. Friday, Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. Philosophy quote of the week: sweat the small stuff. Okay, attention to detail, right? Well-being is realized by small steps, but it is truly no small thing. And that comes from an ancient philosopher named Zeno. It kind of reminds me of some of the self-help books that have come out in the last 2 years about it's the little stuff that matters, one step at a time. You don't become a great person overnight. You've got to do a bunch of little things to grow into that person. That's really what they're saying with this. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is always who they are at this moment in time. I mean, I'm not the same person I was when I was 15, thank God. But that's the thing is it takes lots of little baby steps and suddenly you're miles down the road from where you used to be. So the little things do matter. The little things do matter. Tax tips. Okay, this is kind of an interesting one. It's the fear of filing tax returns and unclaimed tax refunds. So the IRS gives you a chance to pay your taxes over time or even receive interest if a refund is due to you. But if you don't file a tax return within 3 years of when it's due, even if you are entitled to a refund, the IRS is going to keep it. So a couple key points to remember. Collect all your expense information, work with your tax professional to help you get through the information and prepare the returns. Filing a tax return that's due a refund protects the refund to you, even if it takes them a long time to do it. Remember, you have 3 years, right? The IRS will pay you interest on refunds due. Filing sooner does reduce penalties because don't forget there's a penalty for failure to file. That can also help reduce interest. You can file a tax return even if you don't have all the facts because you can always amend for up to 3 years afterwards. And don't forget, you can pay your taxes over time. You can put together like an installment plan as long as you owe less than $50,000. Couple things about unclaimed refunds. The unclaimed refunds apply to people who didn't file a federal income tax return. The IRS estimates that half the potential refunds are more than $1,600 a return, $1,595 to be exact. Some people, like students and part-time workers, may not have filed because they had too little income to require filing. They may have a refund waiting if they had taxes withheld from their wages or make quarterly payments. That refund could also apply if they qualify for certain credits, like the earned income tax credit. If you don't file, hey, don't forget, 3-year window on the original due date for 2020 returns. That means the window closed this past April 15th of 2024. The law requires that you properly address, mail, postcard, and postmark your tax return by that date to claim your refund. If you mail a return in, if you're not faxing it in, do it via certified mail with a return receipt requested. Remember, you can e-file your past returns from 2021 tax years forward. Be sure to use the correct address to send in returns, which is different from the address you use to send payments. And don't forget that 3-year window on refunds, right? If you didn't file, 3 years goes by, too bad, so sad. You do not get it, okay? One last thing, don't forget the IRS is going to send out notices by mail, right? We talked about that last week. Okay, health tip of the week, mental health benefits of nature. Get outside and go for a walk. That's kind of what this comes down to. I'll just touch on some of the big benefits. First of all, how does nature benefit mental health? It really helps manage stress. So getting outside, there's tons of data to back this up. Getting outside, and getting exposed to nature helps regulate your nervous system in as little as 5 minutes. So that whole literal walk it off thing you might have heard a coach say to you at some point in your life, go walk it off. Go outside, walk it off. You'll calm down, right? You'll de-stress a little bit and you'll get, a nice little walk out of it too, right? What if you live in a city that you don't have much nature, right? 55% of people live in urban areas. In the next 25 years, that number is supposed to go up to 70%. So the biggest thing though is, if there's a park anywhere, go to the park, right? If you can get out for the weekend, if you can get out for a day, go do that, right? Go do that. At a minimum, right? At a minimum, get outside and just see what's around you. How can I interact with nature if I'm stuck inside all day? This is kind of interesting, right? Consider how you could do it, right? It's not a replacement, but you can still engage your senses by listening to like bird songs, a rainstorm, have some plants in your home or office, decorate with pictures of natural beauty, using a diffuser with natural scents. There's a ton of these things that you can do. But when it comes down to it, how much nature do I really need? Well, every quick visit outside helps. If you could get outside for at least 20 minutes, that's the most beneficial for your health. 20 to 90 minutes. This is according to a 2021 study. Excuse me. But that's our update for the week. One last note on Memorial Day. I'm a combat veteran, and thankfully I'm still here, which means that Memorial Day isn't really for me. It is, and this is something I always try to point out to people. Memorial Day is to remember the people who died and their families. And the families part is something I add into that because it's their families who really miss them and feel their absence more than anyone. But hopefully when you were out on Memorial Day, you had a minute or two to say thank you to all those people who have actually made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can enjoy the benefits of this great republic that we live in. So have a great short week, everyone. That's one of the other benefits of Memorial Day, right? It's a 4-day week. So have a great short week, and we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.